Funny if like they had a postseason tournament where they're like, since we have so many Bulldog names, like we need to narrow it down to one. So whoever wins gets to keep their name. You'd see the best basketball of your life. There's going to be some crazy shit. People are going to bet Eastern Washington, they lose by 10. And people are going to be like, oh my God, this team sucks. Or like Montana State blows a game and people are like, what the, the Big Sky's trash.
I feel like I just can't take you seriously. And at the same
program.
time, yeah, it's like I simultaneously can't take you seriously and I'm extremely interested in everything that you have to say.
That's good. That's what we need out of this stream. Okay, is that like inertia or something? There's like a
moving water requires colder energy to freeze. I can go call my mom. My mom literally lives on a river in Wisconsin.
What do we call that? Boots on
ground. Yeah. Okay, so you've got your mom's house on the under, and you've got life savings on UNLV. What else? What else can we wager? Future Kids College Fund. Oh, but yeah. Well, so we're gonna double up right after. So we're gonna parlay the house and the life savings, and then we're gonna roll that through on something.
Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's. I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leaving I levy. No sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do. Hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan. You just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told him no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit on my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboy Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's stream. We've got day number 3 of the college basketball season. We are here once again to break down the slate. Had a pretty good day yesterday. I mean, it was a small slate, another small slate today. But we went 2-1 on the day. Yesterday, which we'll take. We had the freest bet of the day in Creighton, taking down Florida A&M by a score of 105-54. That was air. I was saying yesterday that it was going to be kind of like the Virginia Tech game, kind of like the Pitt game from the day before. I wasn't expecting it to be like within a couple points of the exact correct score of those games. But Creighton was free. Northern Iowa, plus the points. Lost in OT. GG's on that. It happens. It's college basketball. It's a long season. We're going to win some of those. We're going to lose some of those. But yeah, I see a lot of people saying OT is where dogs go to die. In college basketball, it is so true. I was really hoping we would just lose by like 3 points or something and get our cover, get out with the win. And then Stony Brook, the last thing I ended up betting. I know we had a couple leans up on the screen. I haven't gotten rid of what was up from yesterday. But I had Stony Brook plus 18 as a lean. Actually moved to 19 by the time I ended up betting it. They lost by 16. We'll take it. Good teams win. Great teams cover. Full breakdown on all of the leans yesterday. Florida Gulf Coast plus the points. Should have bet that. They look great. Stony Brook hit. The over in that game hit also. Auburn losing the game of the day. Shout out Baylor. There was not really a whole lot of consensus on that Auburn and Baylor game yesterday. Auburn was up early, but in the end, Baylor was the team that found the guys who would go and get buckets down the stretch. So shout out Baylor. Felt like a coin flipping game. I didn't want to bet it, and I feel fine with losing on that lean, and I feel honestly happy I didn't bet it. Even more so than because it lost. We had the Presbyterian and Vanderbilt under. Somebody in chat pointed that bet out. Out yourselves, because you were a genius, and I want to give you some credit for that. That was sharp. Presbyterian actually ended up beating Vanderbilt outright. That was crazy. The under hit game ended on 130. The number was at 134.5. Again, Northern Iowa lost. UNC Asheville got clobbered by Michigan. People were saying, and again, rightly so. W points from the chat. I love you guys. You guys are the best. Everybody in chat is great. I love all of the discussion, the discourse that we have here. It's my favorite part of the stream. It makes me money. I hope it makes you guys money too. And then Creighton, of course, won. So let me get this refreshed. Get rid of all of the leans and bets from yesterday. And let's do a little roll call and then hop into today's slate. So we got Total Slayer in the house. How is it going? What's up, Heisenberg? Yeah, Northern Iowa in OT was indeed pain. What's up, Dirty Turtle? Making some money on Creighton. Let's go. What's up, West by God? How's it going? When does West Virginia play a real team? I need to know. Also, what's up, Matt? Yeah, I saw what you tagged me in on Twitter. I haven't interacted with it yet, because I was just like out with my dog, and saw the noti. But that is piss. We'll get 10 likes tonight. What's up, NFL Material? How's it going? What's up, Sick Money? Says still in NIU piss. Yeah, Northern Iowa is piss. Mello says yeah. Knew it was piss when it went to OT. What's up, Payaga? How's it going? Drexel, right? Lemoyne, right? I wasn't on either of those games. You saw none of that represented at all on anything I was talking about. And Ben was on the Lemoyne Georgetown over as his POD. NFL Material says, you won me $250 on Stony Brook. Let's go. Let's get another $250 today on something else. What's up, Alex? Says, Sister Jean will steal all of my coin today. Yeah, that's the first game that we're gonna hop into here in a couple minutes. Weird one. Very, very, very interesting game, IMO. What is up? Who else we got? Oh, what's up, Ron? How's it going? Yeah, roll call. If anybody hasn't said hello, be sure to say what's up. Give me your POD. What's up, TJ? West by God says, not sure. Look, only CBB bet I made was them against Missouri State. That was a good bet. That cashed. What's up, Sorrow? W, first time chat, says Arizona State +3 in the, I guess, only power conference versus power conference game that we've got today. That's another interesting one. Spoiler alert, am probably going to be on the other side. It's definitely something I need a little bit more convincing to bet, but it's either Mississippi State or the under for me in that one. All right. So let's take a sip of coffee. And start talking about this Loyola Chicago Florida Atlantic game. I'm assuming that there's people on FAU in this game. Alex was saying Sister Jean's gonna steal all my coin. Pega said, yeah, Chelly asked yesterday if Sister Jean throws it back. I don't think Sister Jean has thrown it back since the 1700s. Probably. I don't have any personal firsthand experience one way or the other with Sister Jean throwing it back, but that's my take. Also, what's up? How the hell do you say that name? Is that just like Novak? But 2 days of CBB, and I've hit 2 massive parlays. W. Love to see it. Let's go 3 for 3 today. All right. So Loyola and FAU. Let's start with FAU. Florida Atlantic obviously made the Final Four last year. Also, Ben, somebody in chat said that they were, I guess, talking about it on Night Sweats. I just have to, I have to respond to the allegations. Okay. So FAU, Final Four team last season, and returning basically everybody from their team. They lose one player who scored. I mean, who was a starter for them, but a guy who scored 8 points a game in Michael Forrest. It's the same team back, which is wild. It's incredible that we have a team at this level with that kind of success, bringing everybody back. So Florida Atlantic, and probably rightfully so, is a big underdog team to like win the national championship this year, which sounds absolutely insane to say. But that's kind of what their expectations are. On the flip side, Loyola Chicago is a very interesting team. A team that's a little bit tough for me to get a grip on coming into this season. So they moved from the Missouri Valley into the A10 last year. They were pretty bad, honestly, for a team that has been a phenomenal team in the MVC for years and years and years. Before that, they finished 10-21, 4-14 in the conference. Returned a lot of players though. They had massive roster turnover last year, returned a lot this year, and they bring in a lot of interesting pieces. So they bring in a guy, Dame Adekam from Dartmouth, who averaged 13.8 points, 7.2 boards last year. In the Ivy League, they bring in a guy, Greg Dolan from Cornell, averaged 13 points, shot 42.5% from three. In the Ivy last year, Des Watson from Davidson played 30 minutes a game for them, scored 9.5 points a game. Another guy who can just go out and get a bucket, defend on the wing. So there's a lot of depth on this Loyola team. Again, bringing back a lot of players from last year, plus adding 4 impact transfers. Also bringing in a guy from Oral Roberts who started for them, scored 8 points, 5.5 boards a game. It's just a question of how quickly will this team gel. And against the Florida Atlantic team that we know is returning basically everybody from last year's squad, it's definitely at least chemistry advantage FAU, talent advantage FAU. The question is, can FAU cover 6.5? So my first thought looking at this is honestly 6.5 feels a little bit low here. I was expecting to see this game sitting at like 9.5, 10.5, something along those lines, and to come away thinking, okay, if that's where we're going to be sitting, and I'm just going to be out. 6.5. I kind of like FAU here. I have enough questions about Loyola that I'm probably not going to be actually betting this game. But I feel like a lot of people are going to overthink this one and say, oh, this is only at 6.5. Let's take Loyola. That's the sharp side. And I completely agree with what Sick Money said. I think Loyola is fake sharp. So if I'm betting this game, it's definitely going to be FAU minus 6.5. But this is definitely just a lean. Doubt I'm going to have coin on this. Also, I'm expecting to hear a lot of both sides of this game on the Surgical Stream Letter. And then as far as the total goes at 142.5, again, with just like so many questions about this Loyola team, I don't really want to touch the total. There's with so many new guys, they can speed it up, slow it down. They can be all over the place. So I don't really want to touch the total here. Free says, what's your favorite play today? Tailed VT the other night. We're gonna get there. So we're gonna run through the slate, and then I will tell you what my favorite play is when we are done. All right. Next game number 2 on the slate. We have a pair of teams that have already played a game. Western Illinois and Southern Methodist. So Western Illinois played UTSA into overtime as 5.5-point dogs. Ended up not covering the spread in OT. SMU took a nice easy win over a non-D1 team. Over what are they called? Southwestern Assemblies of God. If anybody can tell me the nickname of Southwestern Assemblies of God without looking it up, I'll give you $1. Yeah, honestly, acronym is SWAG. It's actually on ESPN. It says SWAG, SWAOG. But no, 100% they should be SWAG. That would boost their recruiting and also boost their how much they assemble for God by at least double. Okay. So Western Illinois, we talked about them a little bit on the stream on Monday, but they I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this team. They lost a lot of their top scorers from last year, and what my key takeaway from that UTSA game, is that Western Illinois committed a ton of fouls. They committed, I believe, 25 of them, sending UTSA to the free throw line 35 times. And this game was fast. So it did go to OT. So it played 45 minutes, not 40 minutes. But Western Illinois took 75 field goal attempts. UTSA took 64, again, plus 35 free throws. Lots and lots and lots of possessions. Both teams shot the ball like shit. So it kind of barely squeaked over the pregame total, even though it went to OT. But with that kind of tempo, I'm eyeing this as an over spot, just expecting teams to perform a little bit better. On the SMU side, of course, they need to contribute to the pace also, and they need, as the favorite in this game, spread is 18.5. They need to contribute some buckets, and I kind of like the build of this SMU team to thrive in a game like that. So SMU, very athletic team, a lot of guys who just get to the paint, a lot of slashers on the wing as opposed to snipers on the wing. So I think SMU is going to get to the line a lot in this game. SMU also, I think, going to be pushing the pace. They struggled last year offensively just because they didn't really have shooting, and they also lacked a point guard. So a lot of their guys at like the 2 and the 3 spot, who are going to be there this year at least, were responsible for a lot of ball handling duties last year. And now that they bring in a couple pure point guards, they brought in Chuck Harris from Butler, who started for them last year, averaged 10 points, 2.5 assists per game for Butler. And they bring in another guy from I forget where, but they brought in another point guard. So they're slashing wings in Zurich Phillips, in Samuel Williamson, not going to be really responsible for ball handling duties. I think that increases the effectiveness of this offense quite a bit. So I think that Western Illinois will push pace. I think SMU will push pace. I think we see a fuck ton of free throws in this game. It might take a while for the over to get there, just because we need work from the line. But give me the over in SMU and Western Illinois. At 146. And I'm calling this a strong lean right now. This is a game where I'm like 90% of the way there to placing this bet. Not 100%, but I'm like 90% of the way there. Anybody have any thoughts on this game? Has anybody looked at this? I see literally 0 comments about this game, which is fair. I mean, it's early in the season. Western Illinois is a random ass team. Lost all their best players. But if anybody's looked at this game and has some thoughts, let me know. Otherwise, let's move on to the next one, which is Bucknell and Penn. I'm going to skip this game. Penn lost Jordan Dingle. They've got the Schlackert, who is probably going to emerge as one of the better players in the Ivy League this year. I don't really have anything in this game, though. Bucknell was extremely mid. I think they're going to keep being mid. And then with it's just question marks about just how good Penn will be. What about Western Illinois over first half? And also, do we think they're cover? I would probably lean with SMU to cover this spread. I have 0 interest in betting it. And as far as the Western Illinois team total goes in the first half, again, I'm probably a lot more interested in like an SMU team total over. Like the one thing that I feel extremely confident in is SMU is going to drive to the hoop, initiate contact, and get to the free throw line. And then just like, what is the best way to bet on that information? And for me, it's the full game over. It could also be SMU overs. Western Illinois over, I don't really have any thoughts on that. And yeah, they are the Leathernecks. All right. So again, nothing in Penn and Bucknell. And then as far as next team goes, Syracuse and Canisius. This is another one that I'm kind of off on. So Canisius was pretty bad last year. They went 10-20, and they lost 3 of their top 4 scorers. And they really didn't do a ton in the portal. They brought in a couple different guys who were backups, rotation pieces at the mid-major level. Let me pull up their team page and tell you exactly who that was. They brought in Joe Jones center, played 10 minutes at Georgia State last year, and they brought in Cam Polisi from Valpo, who also just played like 10 minutes a game for them last year. So a team that was bad, lost top players, didn't bring in a ton. And in a lot of situations, that has been a recipe for me to bet on the other team. I'm not doing that here. I don't think. Canisius was a very young team last year. They do return a lot of guys. They should be improving. They do have legitimate skill. They have legitimate size. It's just a matter of getting these guys who are freshmen and sophomores more experience. So Canisius should be better than they were last year. I'm not saying, they're not going to beat Syracuse in this game, but they're going to be better. High upside, high variance team. Also, what's up, D-Smalls? And yeah, Ben, with a very, very, very important point here about the other team in this game, Syracuse. So Syracuse, for the first time in forever, I think more than 50 years, no Jim Boeheim on the sideline. The era post-Jim Boeheim has begun. They brought in Adrian Autry, or I guess I say brought in Adrian Autry. He was on the staff for like a decade before he was appointed as the coach. But yeah, big changes for Syracuse. No more 2-3 zone. Going to be playing man. And in their first game of the season, they definitely struggled a little bit defensively. They gave up 72 points to New Hampshire. The game soared over. New Hampshire was able to cover the spread pretty handily there. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time for this Syracuse team to adjust to playing man defense, because they lost some guys from last year for sure. I mean, Jesse Edwards is gone. Joe Girard is gone. But everybody else who is in that system has been used to be playing the 2-3 zone for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, however long they've been in the program so far. So it is going to take some time to instill really proper man-to-man defense characteristics. At the same time, this Syracuse team looks like once they figure it out on that end is going to be good. They return some good players. They return Judah Mintz, who was one of the best freshmen in the country last year, averaged 16 points a game. Definitely needs to work on his three-point shot. Only shot 30% from three last year. But freshman point guard coming in, scoring 16 points a game, 4.5 assists. Phenomenal player. Absolutely phenomenal player. They bring in J.J. Starling from Notre Dame, who was a highly touted freshman for them. The whole Notre Dame team was a disaster. Coach is gone. Everybody transferred out. So now Starling is starting at the 2 guard for them. They brought in Naheem McLeod, who is 7'4", probably not going to play more than like 10, 15 minutes a game. But just a truly intimidating paint presence when he's out there. A lot of other talented players on the Syracuse team too. So with the number right now sitting at, what are we at? 12.5. I'm definitely leaning with Syracuse. As far as a side goes, I'm definitely also not going to be betting it. Just because I need this Canisius team again is high upside, high variance. I really think that Canisius could go out there and make this a game. I also wouldn't be surprised if Canisius just falls apart and loses by 30. I think both of those are very reasonable outcomes in this game. The other thing I'm thinking about is the over, but the total is high. It is 152.5. Syracuse's first game was played at a very high tempo. Canisius hasn't played yet. I'm a little bit worried about Canisius trying to slow the pace. So we'll see. So I think I'm going to be staying off this game. I'm not even going to throw up leans onto the screen, but I mean like very, very, very slight leans that I'm not really contemplating betting, so I'm not going to put them up. Everything that I put up on the screen, I'm at least considering betting in some way. But if I had to bet something here, it would probably be the over, and then if I had to bet a side, it would be Syracuse. So that's thoughts on that one. Small slate again today. All right, next game. Interesting one. Troy and Ohio. Troy and Ohio. So, Troy. Let's start with them. Sunbelt team. I need to pull the team page up. 1 second. But Troy. lost a lot of production in the offseason. They basically lose their entire team. They bring back 3 players from last year's squad, although at least 2 of those players pretty damn good. They bring back their pair of starting guards. Both average double-digit points. Both can pass. Both can shoot. Both are physical players. Both can rebound a little bit for their size. They also bring back a rotational front court piece who should be starting for them this year. So the guard player should be good. They have guys that they can give the ball to and score. That is a known quantity for this Troy team. Everything else is a massive, massive, massive question mark. Massive question mark. They bring in no Division I transfers. All of the transfers that they bring in are from the JUCO level, from the D2 level, from D3, from NAIA, and they bring in some freshmen. So, what are they going to do? I really have no idea. The things that I know about Troy, though, is they played relatively fast last year, 150th in tempo. They have guards who can score the ball, and they are a small team. Ohio, going to be much the same way, except with a lot more talent, I think. So Ohio, and again, let me get their page up. Navigating this is like slightly buggy when you have to scroll down. So Ohio lost Dwight Wilson out of their front court last year. Averaged 15 points a game, 9 boards a game, one of the best players in the MAC. They return basically everybody else, though. They return a couple guards who can shoot the hell out of the ball. In Jalen Hunter and Miles Brown, both seniors. Both averaged double digits last year. Both shot 40% from 3. They have a sophomore guard, played 15 minutes a game, was a freshman last year, also shot 40% from 3. Ohio can shoot the damn ball. This is a really, really, really good team. I see Total Slayer says like the under. I'm actually leaning the other way. I like the over in this game. So Ohio is a team that's just going to go out there and I think just play offense. This is I was saying Troy is a small team. Ohio is like an especially small team. They have the 4 starters on this team are going to be 6'4" or shorter. It's going to be 6 foot, 6'1", 6'3", 6'4", 6'8", and then like one other guy who's 6'11", and then like maybe another guy who's 6'8", who's going to be in the rotation. But it's going to be like four guard lineup. Troy plays a lot of 5-out offense. I think both teams are going to be able to score the ball at will in this game. I mean, the question mark is the pace going to be there? Because the total, I guess, depending on where you're looking, you're saying 147.5. I'm showing a 146.5 right now. Again, though, it'll vary depending on where you're looking. I think that we get enough scoring because both of these teams, the known quantity that they have right now is in the fact that they have guards who can score the ball. And on Ohio's end, at least, guards who can hit the 3, like nobody's business. Like all 3 starting guards for Ohio, 40% from 3 last year. So I think Ohio scores. I think Troy probably scores. The spread in this game is a little interesting with Ohio sitting at -7.5. This is another one where I was a little bit surprised to see it so short. I was also expecting this one to be around 10-ish, just with how much roster turnover Troy has had and how much returning scoring talent Ohio has. My one hesitation, though, again, is that Ohio's front court is small. And if this is a game where Troy identifies that and can get some of their new pieces together and go exploit that, then that's the win condition for Troy. Because Ohio's guards are going to score. So my lean for sure is the over. I see Total Slayer grabbed at the under. Burt took Troy +9 this morning. But yeah, I think that I lean Ohio. But give me the over 146.5 as the lean here. We'll call it a lean, not a strong lean. I think I'm more likely to bet the other over 146.5 as opposed to this one. But I think they're both pretty solid plays. All right. Speaking of overs, well, I guess the next game I've got nothing. Texas Tech and Texas A&M Commerce. If you have anything, let me know. I got nothing. Commerce just wants to go out there and shoot 1 billion threes, or at least that's what they did against Texas A&M. They shot 4 of 28 from 3 in that game. Texas Tech turning over the whole roster, putting in Grant McCaslin at head coach. So we're going to get his North Texas team that's going to just slow the ball down as much as possible. If you want an under NFL material, I think this is the game. Just because, number one, you have, again, Grant McCaslin's defense and tempo at Texas Tech. Plus, you have a Commerce team that it doesn't look like it has a whole lot as far as scoring talent goes. Plus, you've got a whole new roster at Texas Tech that might take a minute to gel. I'm just a little hesitant to be betting unders at this point in the season. With the new rule changes that we've had, there's been a lot of fouls called, and fouls are good for overs for multiple reasons. But if you want an under,
to the Cowboy Show.
I think it's this one. I'm not going to be betting it though. Also, we got Matt coming in with the 8-month sub. Bang, appreciate that. Matt, what are you looking at in college basketball today? What are you doing now that MLB's done? Also, what's up, Rolo? Says, is it the San Diego guys over Jackson State? No, I don't think so. I think San Diego is going to be really, really bad this year. I don't think I'm going to be firing up Jackson State. Just because I think a lot of the SWAC teams are hard for me to get a grip on. But San Diego is going to be bad. We're going to get to that one in a little bit. Matt says, Commerce team total under 52.5. There we go. Hey. Against it yeah. I like that a lot, actually. That sounds great. What's up, McClevin? What's up, Viz Shadow? Says, don't know if you talked about Arizona State, but I think they went outright. Have not gotten to that game quite yet. We have one more to talk about, and then we're going to hit that one. There was somebody in here earlier also saying Arizona State was their move in that one. Have not seen any Mississippi State backers. All right. Next game on the slate. I love this one. Lipscomb and Drake. So let me get team pages up real quick. There's 1 and there's 2. All right. So Lipscomb. Last year and this year, I think we should expect a lot of continuity in this. Just gonna shoot 3-pointers and do nothing else. That's Lipscomb's game. They lose a couple good rotational pieces, but they bring back one of the better players in mid-major college basketball in Jacob Ovasevich or Ognasevich. Averaged 17.7 points per game as a 6'7" kind of stretch 4 for them last year. I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of some of the guards that this Lipscomb team has. They bring back Darian Boyd. Played 27 minutes a game, shot 39% from 3. Will Pruitt, 30 minutes a game, 41.4% from 3. Both of those last two guys, double-digit scorers from last year. I guess Pruitt technically at 9.9. So I won't lie and call him a double-digit scorer. Plus, they bring in they bring in some decent transfers. I mean, they lose one of my other favorite players in Asan Asadullah, who finally graduated. But this Lipscomb offense is going to be good. They're going to shoot threes like nobody's business. And then for Drake, I think it's going to be a lot of the same, honestly. So Drake was a great defensive team last year, but they lose a lot of their best defenders. Roman Penn graduated. Garrett Sturtz graduated. DJ Wilkins graduated. Sadar Calhoun graduated, or have left in the portal. So defense, I think, not going to be as much of a strength. Of course, Tucker DeVry, one of the, again, best mid-major basketball players, also a 6'7", kind of stretch for 18.6 points a game, Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year last year, head coach's son. So both of these teams, just scoring is what we're going to get. So Lipscomb, their first game actually ended up going under. They played Wichita State. That game finished on 135 points. There were tons of possessions in that game. Tons of possessions. Wichita State's a slow team, but Lipscomb took 69 field goals. Wichita State took 65 plus 17 free throw attempts. Lipscomb shot 37 three-pointers. That's a high-tempo game. That's a very high-tempo game. Drake hasn't played yet this year, but I think that they're going to push the pace. And again, their strength is a little bit more in offense this year than defense. Their perimeter defense especially is a lot worse than it was last year with the guys that they lost. So I think on both ends of the court, we have matchups that indicate that the offense is maybe the side to back. So with this number sitting at 143.5, I think that this is a great spot to get in on an over. So give me the over in Lipscomb and Drake. And this is something I am definitely going to be betting. So let me move this down here. So Heisenberg says torn on this. What are you torn on? Torn on sides, torn on totals. Also, Chris says, why do people like Arizona State so much? I don't know, if I'm being completely honest. I would love for people to tell me why they like Arizona State. And again, I was wrong yesterday on the other Power Conference v Power Conference game. I have a little bit more conviction on this one than I did in yesterday's game. But I'm definitely leaning Mississippi State. And let's talk about that game now. So Mississippi State is a team that got an at-large bid. They played in the first four of the NCAA tournament last year. They lose 3 different players who scored like 3 points a game. Everybody else is back. They didn't really bring in a ton. I guess they brought in Andrew Taylor, who scored 20 points a game at Marshall last year, which is actually a very, very, very important piece. Past that, just some freshmen, some like small school transfers. I guess Jimmy Bell also played like 18 minutes a game at West Virginia. But this is an NCAA tournament team from last year with its entire starting lineup back that brought in at least one player who can maybe address their big issue that they had last year, which was scoring. That being said, I mean, there's still going to be a lot of question marks with this Mississippi State team in how much can they score. I mean, Tolu Smith is like the only guy who can get a bucket, and he's your starting center. So that's really, really, really tough at times. Their defense is phenomenal. They finished number 4 in the country in KenPom defense last year. Oh, number 9. So what we know about this team: stifling defense, glacial pace, question mark scoring the ball. So the question is this Arizona State team matched up in any way, shape, or form to take advantage of that? I don't know that the answer to that question is yes. And yeah, we know they can't shoot for shit. But what is Arizona State gonna do to score? They lose like their whole team from last year. Desmond Cambridge is gone. DJ Horn is gone. Warren Washington is gone. Devin Cambridge is gone. That's like all of their scores. They returned Frankie Collins, who's a phenomenal point guard. Michigan transfer last year. averaged 10 points a game, 4 boards, 4 assists. What do they have aside from him? Like, I know Mississippi State can't score, but if the handicap on taking Arizona State is that Mississippi State can't score, I think you take the under in this game. It's a neutral site game, so under, potentially a good look. But yeah, so I mean, Arizona State, they lose a ton of guys. They bring in Kamari Lands from Louisville, who was like a hyped recruit, but played in an absolute shit show of a system at Louisville last year. They bring in a dude from Tulsa, who scored 12 points a game for them. They bring in a guy from San Francisco, Zane Meeks, who scored 10 points for them. But this is a team that's like bringing in good but not elite mid-major players to pair with a good point guard and some other kind of rotational pieces that they bring back. I don't know that this Arizona State team is like the team that you want to go bet on to exploit Mississippi State's bad shooting. GL Reed says, now at 129.5 was 132.5. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Definitely got bet down. Mississippi State, phenomenal under team just in general. I mean, they had games last year that was like 90 points. And it wouldn't be uncommon. So for me, it's either Mississippi State, just you have a cohesive, elite defensive team taking on a team trying to bring in a bunch of pieces from all over the country that has a good point guard but doesn't really have an established go-to scoring threat, doesn't really have an established sniper, a guy who can go and beat you by hitting a bunch of threes. I think it's definitely advantage Mississippi State defense. So then the question mark is how do you want to bet that? Do you want to bet that by taking Mississippi State, or do you want to bet that by taking the under? And I think that both of those are very fair looks. So I'm going to actually put them both up as a lean. I think for me, if I wanted to bet one, it would be the under. But I think at the number that this is at, I'm interested in Mississippi State to cover the spread as well. Chote says, Nick, how often would you say you bet fishy lines rather than just data back plays? I mean, so betting fishy lines, how? I mean, so the way that I look is if I see a fishy line, I don't bet like against the fish. I would if this was like Arizona State minus 10. I mean, this is a stupid example, right? But off the top of my head, that's what I can think of. Or actually, no, let's talk the FAU game. We'll circle back to that for a second as our case for this. That line seemed fishy to me. FAU minus 6.5. We got a Final Four team returning everybody, taking on a team that had 10 wins last year with a bunch of roster turnover that like has talent for sure, but question marks. That was the FAU was a little bit of a fishy line. I'm not going to see that fishy line and bet Loyola just because it's fishy. I'm going to do my research, and if I just think that, hey, the market has this mispriced a little bit, I'm going to take the value on FAU. That's the way that I approach fishy lines. Auburn game yesterday was definitely a fishy line. I didn't think that line was fishy. I was maybe a little bit surprised with how it moved. I think that we had, like, there was the news report about Auburn's players being healthy, and I think that moved the line, but I think that was already priced in. So maybe that line move was just like bad, fake, sharp, public, square money. I don't even know what to call it coming in on Auburn after that news. But I think that's like all it was. It seemed like Baylor should have been a couple point favorites, and then the move was weird. But there was like a reason for it. It wasn't fishy. It wasn't like they're trying to bait you. It was just like this news report came out that was already factored into the line, and then people bet on the news report even though it was already factored into the line. All right. So we got 4 more games. Prairie View A&M and Seattle. I'm out on this game. Prairie View A&M lost a ton of players. They bring in transfers, honestly, who seem pretty skilled and athletic, especially for the SWAC. Prairie View's historically been one of the better SWAC teams, even if the last couple of years have been kind of down for them. As always with a team like this, question marks about how they're going to gel. Seattle, returning a lot, even though they lose one of their all-time great players, all-time leader in games played for Seattle, Grigsby. Ryan Grigsby is gone. But aside from him, basically everybody's back. This is just a game where I think Prairie View is another one of those kind of high variance, high upside teams. Lines at 15.5. I don't have any way of quantifying at this point whether Seattle is 20 points better or 10 points better or what. So I'm out on that game. If anybody's got anything, of course, let me know. But I'm out. And yeah, I think that's I'll agree and say it's a great mindset. And that's why it's the mindset that I have developed. Not saying like I'm great, but I think that anything other than that is a little counterproductive, shall we say. Gotta bet lines, but you have to bet lines in the right way. All right. Southern and UNLV. This is another one I've just got no fucking clue. So UNLV lost a bunch of players, brought in a bunch of talented players from the portal. Southern has a new coach who was at Tulane last year, and Tulane had the number 2 tempo in the entire country. That being said, the guy that they bring in, more of like a defensive coach for them, not really anticipating Southern to mimic that tempo that Tulane played last year. Lots of new players on both sides. I'm out. Kind of similar game to Prairie View Seattle. And I'd like to see the way Southern plays before making kind of coaching change tempo plays on overs or unders. How does the model account for these early games? It's tough. The first couple games of the season, I think the model is not the most useful resource. I'm looking at it a little bit, but it'll really kick into gear once we have some data with these teams. And it didn't used to be like that. Like even a couple years ago, before the transfer portal was like so crazy, it was pretty good even right off the bat. But now when you have teams that are just like, oh, this is a completely new team, we need a couple games. Total Slayer says, does the line movement in the ASU game worry you at all about taking Mississippi State? So let's check out said line movement. Pulling up unabated, which I should have had up this whole time. And let's take a look. So we're sitting at 4 or 3.5, depending on where we look. Dropped from 5. I mean, I don't think that it's a massive red flag for me if I'm betting Mississippi State here. So the total in this game is low. Again, we're sitting at like 130.5 to 129.5, depending on where we look. And when you have a total that low, very often the team that wins is going to be winning by just a couple possessions. So the difference between 5 and 4 is like a pretty significant thing. It's like 3 possessions versus 2 possessions, basically, if we're just counting free throws going each way, 2-pointers going each way. So I honestly, this kind of feels like a spot to me where people say this is a 2-possession game, not a 3-possession game. Gets bet down from 5 to 4. And then that's where it's at. And I think that's a fair assessment. If this was sitting at higher than 4.5 or higher than 3.5, I'm probably a lot less inclined to be betting Mississippi State here. Because it really does feel like a game that comes down to the wire. But like but significant edge Mississippi State in that grindy game. That's kind of my take there. Also, in college basketball, especially this early on in the season, I have zero qualms betting with or against line moves. I've found that in college basketball, my CLV personally, historically, has been worth less than it is in other sports. And I'm also not afraid to jump in after a number has moved. Like, take the Creighton game, for example, yesterday. Opened at 28, got bet all the way up to 36.5. And I was like, fuck it. I'm late to the party. 36.5 is still a good number. They're going to win this game by 50. All right. 2 games left, and I actually I don't think I have anything in this next one. Oh, this is one of the weird games. Also, let me fully close my window. There's taking out the trash right below me. I think Wednesday is garbage day. So we got Jackson State and San Diego. Somebody was in here asking earlier what I thought about San Diego. I'm sad that San Diego is at where it's at right now. There was a team that was so much fun to watch offensively last year. Everybody's gone. Eric Williams, Marcus Erlington, Jace Townsend, Jason Dallaire, all gone. They bring back a couple dudes. They bring back Wayne McKinley, who I guess is going to be their starting point guard this year. Played 25 minutes a game, 7 points a game, 21% three-point shooter. They bring back Deuce Turner, scored 16.9 points last year. Good three-point shooter. They bring back a couple of rotational pieces in the front court. This is a team that has 10 freshmen. You get 15 scholarships. This team has 10 freshmen. They almost lost to a D-school team in their first game. They beat Sonoma State 68-64, something like that. San Diego State, I mean, Steve Lavin is a great head coach. The program will be fine. This year, especially early this year, I am extremely worried about them. I don't quite trust Jackson State enough, I don't think, to bet on Jackson State here. This is a game that is in San Diego. It's definitely some travel for Jackson State. But man, I don't think I can bet on San Diego here at all. Also, this Jackson State team I think should be pretty decent. They sadly lost their best transfer. They brought in for the SWAC, who would have a transfer who would have instantly been the best player in the conference. They brought in Deshaun Ruffin from Ole Miss, who scored 9.5 points a game in the SEC last year. But he hurt himself in the offseason. He's going to be out the entire year. So that's a big loss for Jackson State. But Mo Williams, former Cavaliers point guard, is their head coach. Seems like a program definitely heading in the right direction. They have talent, they have athleticism. So I definitely leaned with Jackson State. I have zero desire to actually bet it. So I'm not going to throw it up as a lean, but that's definitely where my head is at. Sorry, Rolo. And yeah, Hasberg, I kind of agree. Give me the dog against a team full of freshmen, and a team full of freshmen that beat a D2 school by 4 points in their last game. All right. Last game of the day. Another game where I have a for sure bet fired up. We've got Utah Tech taking on Santa Clara. So those of you who have been around for a couple of years know that I am always a fan of this Santa Clara team, and I honestly think that this year is no different. Talk about them in a second. I want to talk about Utah Tech for a minute first. Utah Tech loses a ton of players from last year. They bring back a very, very, very good two-guard in Noah Gonsalves, who scored 8.7 points for them last year, 40% three-point shooter. They bring back a decent front court player. We'll call him a good front court player. Played 25 minutes a game, 9.5 points, 7 boards last year for Utah Tech. And they bring in a ton of transfers. I think those two guys actually are literally the only two players that they bring back. They brought in a Hawaii transfer, who's probably going to start at the 3 for them. He's a wing, good athletic player, but more of a 3-and-D guy minus the 3. So not really an offensive contributor, and that's their only D1 transfer that they brought in. So they have 3 players on this team who played Division I college basketball last year. They bring in a bunch of JUCO dudes. They bring in a bunch of freshmen. This Utah Tech team, I mean, they have a couple good players, but I think they're going to struggle to find quality down the lineup beyond their top couple options. Santa Clara also loses a ton of talent. And again, this is something that is usually a red flag for me. I think I'm buying in on the Santa Clara team at the start of the year again right now. So Santa Clara, they lose, the biggest piece obviously is Brandon Podziemski, NBA lottery pick last year. One of the best players in all of college basketball. So Podziemski, before he was at Santa Clara, he was at Illinois. He averaged like 3 points a game at Illinois before transferring in. And under Herb Sendek, who is just one of the absolute best head coaches in probably in all of college basketball, at just identifying and developing talent that is underrated by people. No surprise that Podziemski did that. The year before they had Jalen Williams, turned him from a 3-star prospect into a lottery pick. This year they bring in a guy, Adama Ball, from Arizona. I'm not going to say he's going to turn into the next Brandon Podziemski, but this is a guy with all of the talent in the world, who just couldn't quite break into the rotation at Arizona because Arizona was one of the best teams in the country last year. Transferred out, going to be getting minutes for this team, and a guy that I have kind of pegged as a breakout star that I am watching. They bring in other transfers. They bring in a UVA transfer, a big who, again, just couldn't quite break into the rotation there. They bring back a young sophomore who looked really, really good in limited minutes as a freshman last year. They bring in a couple guys from from low majors. They bring in Jalen Benjamin from Mount St. Mary's, who scored 16 points a game last year, can shoot the 3. Tyree Bryan from Charleston Southern, 42% from 3 last year, double-digit scorer. Johnny O'Neal from American, double-digit scorer, 39% three-point shooter. So they have bigs. They have 2 legit 7-footers in that sophomore that I was talking about and the UVA transfer. They have a guy who's already being mocked in the second round with all the upside in the world in Adama Ball. They bring in a lot of guys who can just shoot. Give me Santa Clara all day against Utah Tech. So this number now is sitting at 13.5. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. All right. So iWager Sports coming in with the follow. Appreciate that. Welcome to the stream. What is your favorite play today, iWager? And also B.Dunn coming in with the 5-month sub bang. Appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So yeah, there's a slate. Let's do a little recap ski. Probably looking for one more bet. Oh, what does ET mean? That means I made a typo. I left the letter B out. That's what that means. All right. So what do we got? So Florida Atlantic -6.5. I definitely like this play. I want to hear what other people have to say about this game. So it looks like in the chat there was a lot of people on the FAU side. I'm gonna watch the surgical stream coming up, see what they have to say, see what people they have to say. If we have a lot of people just coming on and saying, "Oh, the line is sketchy, bet Loyola," then I'm all in on FAU. If we have people coming in giving good pitches on FAU, I'm all in on FAU. Otherwise, it might be a game to watch and learn about Loyola, because Loyola is definitely a high upside team. But that's definitely my lean there. Western Illinois SMU over. Probably going to end up betting that. Like the number there. Troy and Ohio over. Want to do a little bit more research. I guess just questions about the front court for both teams. And how effective they're going to be if we get like a grindier game than expected. I mean, 146.5 is a tough number to hit. I think that one has a lot more grindy potential than Western Illinois SMU does. Lipscomb and Drake over. Love it. Mississippi State stuff. Again, I don't know that I want to be betting on like power conference basketball right now. Like I stayed off the Baylor Auburn game ultimately yesterday, which was the right call because I was on the wrong side. Probably going to stay off this one here. I think that there is a lot more value to be had just in general in understanding the way that these smaller conference teams operate before everybody else does, before the market can adjust. That's why a lot of my bets are on either like on or against small teams. That's the way I like to bet college basketball. And then love Santa Clara. LCLV, that's fine. They're going to win by 233 points. Drede says Florida Atlantic points over. I would much rather bet the side here. I have absolutely no idea what to expect out of Loyola tempo-wise. And I think unless you have a reason, like a matchup maybe that you think that FAU can exploit, or you think that Loyola is going to be pushing pace, I don't want to touch a total here. Because this Loyola team brought in a bunch of scorers, bunch of guys left the program. It's and just with so many new faces and a second year head coach that had a rough team last year. It's for me, it's question marks. It's uncertainty about tempo and how they want to play. And even if it is a team total over and not a game over, like you just need to have that tempo understanding on both sides to bet totals. IMO. So I'm off of it. And I'm not saying it's a no. I'm not saying it's a yes. I'm saying I have no idea. I'm saying I have no reason at all to pick either side of that. Sounds like no D, lots of scoring. I mean, so then why not take the over? And also, I'm not saying it's going to be no D, because I think Loyola played quite slow last year. Yeah, they were 236 in tempo. Denzel Valentine, their head coach, came over from, I think he was a Michigan State assistant, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a team that historically plays slow. But again, like with newer coaches, there's always question marks about how they're going to play when they have okay, now we have the roster that we want. How are we going to play? You took Drake team total over 88.5 this morning. I think it's 89.5 now. I mean, I like the over for sure. And I think if I'm betting a side there, it's I don't know, actually. I don't know if it's Drake or Lipscomb. I think that's a fine bet. I would rather be on the over than the team total. But WCLV, and yeah, it was okay, like 88.5, that felt high. Because the point spread in that game was not 30 points. It was like 20. Okay, yeah, no, I think that's a good bet. My I guess my biggest concern with the Lipscomb Drake over is Lipscomb just missing shots. So I think it's more likely that Drake gets theirs and Lipscomb doesn't than the other way around. And all right, so POD today. I guess there's two options I don't have anything that was like, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be my POD, like the Creighton game was yesterday. Like the, I guess the Virginia Tech game actually wasn't even like definitely POD. It was either that or Pitt, and those two both smacked. I think give me Santa Clara today, minus 13.5 as the POD, with a Lipscomb Drake over as a backup option, and the Western Illinois Southern Methodist over as a third option. You were at the Wichita State Lipscomb game on Monday. Lipscomb is bad. I think Lipscomb is better than they played in that game. They have good shooters. They just miss a lot of shots. But I think we get tempo in this game because all Lipscomb wants to do is go down and shoot threes. And I know that game went under, but the tempo was high. I mean, Wichita State played faster, I think, than they want to in that game just because Lipscomb missed so many shots. But I mean, we had a game where both teams shot like 35% from the field and it went under by 7 points. Like that you bet on that tempo for the over all day, every day. And I think Drake is a for sure worse defensive team than Wichita State with the roster turnover that they have. So that's why I'm on just the general over there. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. I appreciate everyone hanging out, as always. W attendance today. That was great. Hopefully, the bets go as well as they have been the last couple days. Again, Santa Clara minus 13.5 is the POD. Drake Lipscomb over, for sure going to be on the card. The Western Illinois SMU over, almost certainly going to be on the card. And then some of these other things are definitely in consideration still. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. I will tweet out my card in a few hours once I have it firmly established. And be sure to tune back in tomorrow. I think we're going to have double stream tomorrow. I'll be live again for the Thursday morning stream for college basketball. And then Thursday night, I will be on with Ben at 7 o'clock Eastern for Thursday night football picks and props. So good luck with your bets, everybody. Unless you're fading me, have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you tomorrow.